Hey y'all, we're back for week 10, double digits. We have 2 more weeks to go. I realized that I said 5 weeks in one of my earlier videos. I was totally wrong. I was thinking about something else. So, 2 more weeks to go after this. This week we're focusing on chapter 3 of Reading Pop Culture. And chapter 3 discusses technology. And we will go through 4 different articles, different authors, same thing, the drill. So the first essay is called Wall of Sound. The iPod Has Changed the Way We Listen to Music, written by Nikhil Saval. So our author first brings up urban sociologist, oh my god, I'm gonna murder this, Sudhir Venkatesh. I hope that's how you say it. He asked us why protests weren't being raised at the time due to current circumstances, and he was speaking about a while. I never gave a year, but his answer is the iPod. It separates citizens from one another, and he blames Steve Jobs for impending social change. But all this isn't new. It all goes back to when people would isolate themselves to play their own instrument. So that's where it all started. Music grew bigger, it was played all the time, and manifested itself into everyone's ears, including mine. Other researchers, Bloom and Steiner, found that as music grew, technology advanced and it was spreading like crazy. It was in car stereos, Walkmans, boomboxes, stereos at home, television, playing on public transportation, and even the iPod. And it was simply just taking over. Saval wants us to find out what all the listening is doing to us, or what we're doing with it. So he looked at philosophers that connected music and society. So those were Theodore Adorno and Pierre Bourne. With the iPod, users are able to absorb music effortlessly. Saval finishes with, I quote, "Silence is the most endangered musical experience of our time," end quote. So we should learn to appreciate music, but at the same time, learn to appreciate the silence. So the second essay is called The Judgment of Thamas. This was one of my favorite, written by Neil Postman. So Thamas is the king of a city in Upper Egypt, and Postman writes about this because he believes that his response to his situation with, I'm gonna murder this, Theuth, regarding writing is a good example when considering a technological society. So Thamas believes that writing will be a burden to society, but fails to see the benefits that it could have. Just like writing, technology is the same way. Some Egyptian prophets only see the positive in technology, and others, like Thamas, only see the negatives. With the writing, Thamas's concern is not concerned what people write, he is concerned that people will write. Once a technology like writing is admitted, it is easy for it to get out of hand, and things will be confused for what they are really not. It happens in today's society. Television used to mean news and politics, and computers change information. They still look the same, but they no longer mean the same thing. Change can happen in our society, just like Thamas explained could happen in their writing. Everyone's understanding is different, but collisions with understanding are everywhere. Children see our world differently. They see a painted picture on the television or game screen. Others see it in real life and don't understand. Children, it is seen as a failure due to media. So something that has happened that Thamas was trying to prevent is that what he was trying to prevent was technology. So that is the end of that. And the second to last essay is called Gin, Television, and Social Surplus by Clay Shirky. So he starts off by saying that during the Industrial Revolution, gin was basically technology for those. During the time, things changed. GDP per capita was higher, rising educational attainment, rising life expectancy, everything. So this led to a lot of free time, and they spent most of it watching television and drinking gin. There was no longer a crisis. It was a cognitive surplus. Society does not know what to do with the surplus of time, hence the gin and the television. In terms of technology, the more that is produced, the more it is going to be consumed. It is a never-ending cycle. And that's for that essay. The final essay is called Love the One You're Near by Jennifer Blyer. She starts off with Tinder. Yes, Tinder. You see what a person looks like, you see their age, and you can even see how close they are to you. It is used for the casual hookup, and it all comes from the dating app Grindr that was released in 2007. So much of the time is spent on dating apps and dating websites. And she writes, "It is the opposite of giving someone the chance," end quote. Since you are easily able to swipe left, you don't get to know the person, you don't get to find out about them, nothing. So people are viewed more as products rather than actual people when the meetup happens, which is why they're often let down when they actually do meet up. We are used to captivating a false image of ourselves, and that's basically how Blyer finishes. And that is the end of chapter 3. Now chapter 8 for rhetorical analysis. So this week in chapter 8, it is called Challenges Arising from the Audience. And in a rhetorical act, a rhetor often confronts the audience that perceives, understands, believes, or acts in one way and wants them to perceive, understand, believe, and act in a different way. Whether or not there are challenges in your audience, it depends on the nature created. So rhetorics tend to make common errors when thinking about their audience. So first, they assume that their audience is the same as them, and second, they try to turn the audience into someone that they're not. There are 4 ways to understand an audience. 1, there's an empirical audience. These are the ones that are exposed to the rhetorical act. 2, the target audience. These are the ones who are targeted based upon the act. They are most likely to be responsive and share basic assumptions. And 3, agents of change. Those are the ones who are in the act. They buy a product, pay for service. They are the VIPs of audiences. And 4, the created audience. These are the ones that are offered to play a part in the act. And lastly, there are also 4 common audience-related challenges. 1, interaction. They are insulated from exposure. 2, misperception. They are stereotyping or distorting. 3, lack of motivation. There is no salience. And 4, inertia. There is a resistance of change and feels powerless. So that is it for week 10. 2 more weeks.